Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Fair Housing Insiders episode 23. And today we're talking about reasonable accommodation and the importance of listening carefully, active listening. So we appreciate you being here today, another one of our complimentary sessions. And we appreciate you giving us those thumbs up. So let's just get right into our topic. So Michael, give us a little overview. Why is active listening so important when it comes to how residents express their request for a reasonable accommodation?
Jonathan, always great to be on. This one is important because it's a little complicated and nuanced, and it applies to pretty much anybody that has any communication with your residents. If you've taken our training before, you know that you do not have to offer a reasonable accommodation before it's offered. And I want to make sure that we make that clear right off the bat. But how it's offered can sound very different coming from each individual resident. It's important to know that they're probably not going to use the term disability. They're probably also not going to use the term reasonable accommodation or modification. But if you hear a resident complaining about maybe a reaction to the pesticides that you spray in your normal pest control operations, maybe it's a parking spot that is too far away, or maybe it's staircase. It could be any number of things, and it's probably not going to be too obvious. But what's important to remember is that when they communicate that difficulty to you, whether it's about, again, stairs, a parking spot, your pesticides, that even if that's to a maintenance employee who hopefully is trained on this stuff, that still counts as the resident notifying management of their need for a reasonable accommodation. So that makes it really complicated. I mean, who knows what kind of language they're going to use or how softly they're going to use it. It may not sound like they really want something. It may just sound like they're complaining about something, as residents tend to do. But plenty of those complaints don't mean reasonable accommodations, but it's important for you to listen for the ones that do, because those can get you in trouble if you don't take any action surrounding it. So it's really important to pay attention, keep your ears open.
Yeah, very good. I like how you wrap that up. Keep your ears open. It's almost like you got to tune your ears, because especially we can get so busy. We know how busy it is on site, and you have to stop and pay attention and really listen carefully. It's where active listening comes in. So eloquently described there, Michael, all the different, particular scenarios and situations. So that leads us to a scenario that we're going to take a look at, and it's a positive one. It's a good one. So let's review our scenario, and then Michael will get your feedback on it.
I'm having a problem with parking close to my building. Most of my neighbors have multiple cars, and sometimes I have to park my car several buildings over. This is very difficult for me because I have very bad arthritis in my knee. Can we have a limit of 1 car per apartment or something like that so that there will be enough parking for everyone?
I'm sorry to hear that, Mr. Kapoor. I've noticed that it's hard to find parking around your building. I understood that you said that you have trouble walking. Are you making this request based on a disability?
Yes, I have a parking permit for the disabled, but there are only 2 spots, and they are always taken and are still very far from my apartment.
Okay, well, I'm happy to help you with that, Mr. Kapoor. I have a form for you to fill out to request a reasonable accommodation based on your disability. Because you already have a parking permit, there should be no need for verification. When we get this processed, someone will get back to you and discuss your needs and come up with a solution that will address them.
Well, this is a great example, and I can't tell you how happy I am to be talking about an example where the leasing agent does something right for once. A lot of times it's usually not the best reaction from leasing and management. So this time they did it right. And let's go over what happened. So Mr. Kapoor talks about a difficulty here. He doesn't really delve into reasonable accommodation or disability, which is what you can expect when this comes up. They're not going to use that terms. Those are our terms, really. Like, there's our terms for classifying the type of request that this is and how we deal with it. But that's not the public's terms. So he stated a difficulty, and the leasing agent, Taylor, responded exactly how they should. Are you making this request because of a disability? You are not inquiring as to the nature or severity of the disability. You're not getting into any details. You're just saying, is this because of a disability? It's important to say that because the resident may not think that what they're talking about is a disability. It's a difficulty. But once you bring up that term, it helps clarify that you're looking for some information from them, some clarification. So maybe they'll think about it for a second. Maybe they'll say yes, whatever it is. The next follow-up is to see if they want to move forward and to get them to fill out that reasonable accommodation form, that verification form, to move them along if the disability is not readily apparent and observable. So in this case, it wasn't. It may be a case of arthritis, problems, slight problems walking, nothing on the outside visible to see, but there's a difficulty and management needs to respond quickly. Now, remember, after this whole process takes place, you need to follow up. So just after they sign the form and everything, you need to keep it moving. And you need to keep them informed as to how the process is going along. But they responded quickly here. And that's, I'm just very happy that they did it right. And you need to think about that as well. Now, let's take a slight variation on this. Let's say that that resident is speaking to a maintenance employee right outside their building. The maintenance employee just got done with a work order. They're on their way back to their car to go to another one. The resident stops them for a chat and brings this up. What does the maintenance employee do? Well, they're not expected to do the exact same that leasing and management is. So instead, what they need to do when they hear that is recognize it. They have to hear it because it is important for them to understand what the difference is between a request and not. And then they need to tell the resident it's important that you talk with leasing and management about this. Tell them to go to the front office. If they're willing, tell them that you'll take them there right now, especially maybe if they have difficulty walking all the way down to the office. And then, regardless if you take them there or not, or if they speak to management or not, the maintenance employee needs to file a separate report with management and tell them this, they made a request, this is what I heard. And then once it's in management's hands, it's up to them to follow up. So again, keep your ears open and respond when you hear that request. I can't tell you how important that is because eventually, if some kind of complaint gets filed, you're not allowed to claim ignorance and say like, oh, well, they didn't say they needed a reasonable accommodation. They didn't say they were disabled specifically. That doesn't fly. So again, listen to what you're hearing from your resident. Pay attention.
Exactly. Yeah, very good. And I like how you made a differentiation between maintenance, management, leasing professional. And especially in the context, we know we have these scenes. Sometimes the pros are doing okay, some not so okay in some of our previous episodes, but this is all just great teaching for all of us. We need these reminders. We know you're all doing your very, very best, but it can be complicated. And especially, I love how you articulated that, Michael. You can't claim ignorance. So this is another reason why we have these shows. We're here to educate our wonderful community on fair housing. So thank you, Michael, for providing a nice explanation on reasonable accommodations and making sure you're listening carefully and it's being documented and that it's being followed up on. Follow that process. So, we really appreciate your insights on that today.
Jonathan, one thing I want to add before we sign off.
Sure.
Management, go over these scenarios. Honestly, this is a great role-playing scenario opportunity for leasing and your maintenance employees. Write down all the random requests that you can think about in the most, weird language you can think of, and just kind of make sure that they understand to know what to look out for, because it is difficult, especially if they have not gotten the proper training, which I hope they have. But write out all these different scenarios so that they know. It's like, does a resident say anything like this? Well, then you need to listen and follow up appropriately. So yeah, take advantage of this opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. I could not agree more. That's excellent. That's why they're here, our educational sessions, the Fair Housing Insiders. So yeah, thank you for that additional point, Michael. We thank you, everyone. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up, and we thank you so much for your support. And yes, share it with your team. Share it, use it for training in-house. So this has been episode 23 of the Fair Housing Insiders. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time. Take care.
Thanks, everybody.